Hello everyone, and welcome to our third and final installment of our Formtastic Lunch and Learn series, Labels and Barcodes. Thanks for joining us. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, Formtastic is our document design and modernization solution for IBMI. Our last two sessions focused on ERP integration and modernizing IBMI check printing and payment distribution. Now today we'll be looking at Formtastic's labels and barcode support. Now you can register for any of our upcoming webinars or view the recent past webinars on our website quadrantsoftware.com/webinars. By the end of the day, all of the Formtastic Lunch and Learn series will be posted to that page. So before we get started, I just want to go over our GoToWebinar tool. You should see an option to ask questions at the bottom of your GoToWebinar client. If you have any questions, please use that window rather than the raise hand option. We won't be answering questions during the presentation or the brief demo at the end, but we will have a question and answer session after the demo with our tech team. Okay. So my name is John Yoick. I'll be your presenter today. I'm the brand manager for Quadrant Software. Been with Quadrant Software for 3 years now, and in my time I've gotten to see the various different ways that our customers use Formtastic to modernize their IBMI-generated forms, checks, and labels. Quadrant Software is an IBMI document design and distribution solutions provider with over 20 years of experience in the marketplace. Founded in 1990 and have over 10,000 customers worldwide, and we have an award-winning 100% customer satisfaction rating and a 98% Net Promoter Score. So here's a brief overview of today's presentation. We're going to go over some of the standard stuff with Formtastic and IBMI document challenges. Then we're going to take a deeper look at labels and barcode functionality. We'll look at the various label types that we support. We'll discuss how to create labels directly from your DB2 files. Then we'll take a look at our barcode support before we hop onto a brief demo of Formtastic's design editor for labels, where I'll show you how to quickly build a label from a template. After that, we'll have a quick question and answer session with our tech support panel, Deb Walsh from Tech Support and Ken Glansberg from Professional Services. They're going to be waiting patiently in the wings. So feel free to submit any of your questions during the presentation, but again, we'll be waiting to the end to answer your questions on a first-come, first-served basis. Today's presentation is scheduled to run for about 30 minutes. So to get started, let's quickly review some of the major challenges businesses have with spool files and documents. Companies rely on IBMI-generated spool files and data files for their critical documents like invoices, checks, labels, product lists. It could be a document generated by your ERP system, or it could be generated by your own custom application. Unfortunately, most of these documents are plain text. They can be hard to read and digest, and they may not accurately reflect your company's brand. You may not be able to have logos, images, colors, or different colored fonts. They're also time-consuming to manually copy-paste into a new document if you want to edit them to include these other objects. And it's also very time-consuming to modify the existing report or application. In fact, recoding the application to format a spool or data file can be a very time-consuming development initiative. And in many cases, these files are being generated from a bundled, prepackaged application that simply can't be modified. Once the document is created, you still have to worry about manually distributing and archiving. Formtastic is a document design and distribution suite that can help you overcome these challenges by enabling you to modernize your IBMI documents and automate distribution, as well as reducing costs on pre-printed forms and checks and wasted print resources. So at a high level, Formtastic pulls your spool file out of your output queues, merges it with a pre-designed template, converts it to PDF or TIFF, then distributes it to the intended recipient or recipients or prints it, and creates a copy for archiving. It supports a number of different document types, including forms, checks, and labels. And Formtastic's Formatter module allows you to reformat the source spool file to create a new, better formatted file. You can remove empty space and blank lines, concatenate lines to reduce print area and page count, and reformat the spool file for better usability. Formtastic allows you to design Customize professional and polished form overlays in a PC-based editor. These overlays are automatically merged with spool or data files as they are generated in IBMI. You can add graphics and branding such as company logos, customer logos, different colored fonts, tables, headings, boxes, lines, and barcodes. Object data can be set to appear based on conditional rules. You can merge in images and signatures. Formtastic can integrate with standard and untethered signature capture devices, which it then automatically merges the image back into the form before it saves it, prints it, or distributes it. You can set up Formtastic to automatically retrieve additional data in DB2 that the form or document may be missing. Formtastic can take the final document and output to PDF or TIFF format. Then it can automatically print, email, or archive in a simple directory or file it away in your document management system. Some additional features that Formtastic supports. We've gone over a few of these already, but there's a few more I think you'll find interesting. You can set up conditional rules to change images based on location, company, division, or any other spool file data. You can set it up to automatically include a signature, but only have that signature occur when certain conditions are true. Maybe your purchasing manager wants to manually review and sign every purchase order over a certain dollar amount. Well, with Formtastic, you can do that. And of course, you can add barcodes, which we'll talk about more in a minute, and distribute and archive. And of course, the beauty behind Formtastic is that there's no coding required to implement any of the functionality we've talked about. It's very easy to create and manipulate the design templates. So now let's dive into how Formtastic can help you modernize your label printing process. Here's a couple of the most common types of labels our customers use. Product and inventory labels and price labels, address and shipping labels. You also see nutritional labels, serial numbers, RFID tags, and barcodes. Building labels in the design editor is simple. We offer a number of pre-designed layouts you can choose from, or you can generate your own layout. Here you see where each layout gives you the option of printing 2 by 3 or 2 by 5 or any number of labels per page. Just as with our other Formtastic modules, you can add graphics, static text, boxes, lines, and barcodes. But what's different about the Formtastic labels module is that it uses a data file rather than a spool file to bring the data over to merge into your template to generate the labels. And we'll go into that here in just a moment. So there's 2 ways you can create labels using Formtastic. You can create constant labels with data that never changes, such as return address labels, or which more commonly, most of our customers actually use the label merge, which is using a live data file. And doing that, you can run a label merge, which merges it in data from DB2 files into your label template, and then generates the label and then sends it to the printer. So in our other Formtastic modules, the Forms module and the Checks module, we generally rely on spool file data as the source data for populating our documents. However, the Formtastic Labels module, we rely exclusively on DB2 files for the source data for creating these labels. These files are generated by other applications which handle the data which needs to be included in your labels. Now, when merging a label template with a data file, what you need to do is you need to map over the appropriate columns or field names rather into the label template. Our GUI editor allows you to do this. It's very easy. It's just a drag and drop process where you drag the field name into the location that you want on the label, and every time a new record is created in or every time Formtastic creates a new label based on that data file, it looks at the next record and just populates the field data from that field. So, as I stated before, what you've got here is we've mapped over the field names, and then as it creates the merge and runs the merge, it pulls that data out of the out of the fields for each label, for each record. So here we've got General Electric, label, inventory label for that. The next one, Tandy Corporation Radio Shack. It creates a label there. The next one, Sears Pioneer Electronics, creates a label there. So on and so forth. For each record in the file, it creates a new label. And you can include, let me go back to the other slide. You can include it to support, any number of labels, depending on how big you want your label to be. So you could have, 6, 10, 24, 32 labels on your page to conserve space. So here's an overview of how Formtastic labels are created. Your IBMI application is going to manage and update the data file. When it comes time to print the labels, the application submits a merge command to Formtastic. Then Formtastic grabs the pre-designed template and starts pulling that field data out of the DB2 file and merges it into the template to create the final label file, which it then passes to the label printer. Most of our customers use thermal label printers. The most common brand we deal with are actually Zebra printers, where you use pressure-sensitive label stock that it usually comes on a roll. The data stream for these label printers is a little bit different from typical PCL printers. It's usually proprietary format. Zebra uses a ZPL. Other vendors use different formats, and we support all the common data formats for these common label printers. So now, excuse me. Now let's switch gears a little bit and talk about barcodes. Just a little bit of background on barcodes. Barcodes are machine-readable language representations consisting of striped lines that vary in length, or in the case of 2D barcodes, they can be black squares arranged in a matrix. It's probably pretty obvious that barcodes offer significant advantages over manual data entry. First and foremost, it's much faster than manual data entry. Barcodes can contain large amounts of data, where common UPCs and EANs contain about 12 characters. Some barcodes can contain hundreds or thousands of characters, and these can be scanned in the amount of time that it takes an operator to make 1 or 2 keystrokes on a keyboard. And barcodes are also much more accurate than manual entry. According to barcoding.com, for every 1,000 characters typed by a keyboard operator, there's an average of 10 keying errors. Using optical character recognition, you get about 1 error in every 10,000 reads. Now with barcode wand scanners, that gets reduced to 1 error in about every 3 million characters. And with laser barcode scanning, you see about 1 error in every 70 million characters. So because of this high data quality and the ability for high-quality data transmission and recording, barcodes can significantly reduce expensive inventory errors. And because they're included on nearly every product packaging, businesses can quickly incorporate barcodes into their inventory management system to maintain tighter and more accurate inventory control. The combined reduced data entry time and transmission time, along with the increased inventory quality and data quality, among other things, makes barcodes an extremely cost-effective alternative to manually writing out item numbers or printing out item numbers in alphanumeric characters and manually entering those. So here's a few of the large number of barcode types that we support with Formtastic. Most of you are probably familiar with UPCs and EANs. These are going to be present on every retail, or virtually every retail product that you're going to see in store, UPC being most common in the United States, and EAN is virtually used everywhere else worldwide. Now, these are fixed in length, and they are generally only used for retail goods, and they have some manufacturer information encoded and some product information encoded, and they're EAN and UPC-A, EAN13 and UPC-A are fixed in length, I believe, 12 characters with a 13th for error correction, and UPC-E and EAN8, they're both 8 characters. Actually, this one's 8 and that one's a 9. No, I'm sorry, 8. Yeah, I thought they were 8. Now, code 39 and code 128 are interesting. These are variable length barcodes that are designed as replacements for plain text. and they're typically what our customers use for customized barcodes for internal use, and I'll go more into those in just a minute. PostNet is another variable barcode, which is used by the U.S. Post Office to store addresses. I'm sure you've seen these codes printed on letters that you've received before, business letters. And interleaved 205 is another variable length barcode, which is used by FedEx for shipping. We support a large number of other barcode types, including many variations of those listed above, in addition to some 2D barcodes, which I'll go into in a minute. So I want to briefly review the two barcode types that we get asked about most frequently, 3 of 9 and 128. Now 3 of 9 is one of the oldest alphanumeric barcode standards that's still used today with variable length. It was created in 1974. Now it originally had 39 characters, hence the name Code 39, commonly referred to as 3 of 9. It's since been changed to include a handful of additional symbol characters. It supports letters 0 through 9 and alphabet characters A through Z, but only in uppercase, and a handful of other symbols. Now code 128 is also a variable length alphanumeric barcode, but it's relatively newer compared to code 39 or 3 of 9. What really differentiates it from 3 of 9 is that it supports all 128 characters of the standard ASCII character set, including some of the control characters. This makes it useful if your data includes a wider range of characters than those supported in code 3 of 9, although we have a large number of customers that still use 3 of 9. As you see here, I didn't include the control characters because those aren't print characters, but you have A through Z in uppercase and lowercase, in addition to a number of additional characters. So this is good for data that requires more than that requires uppercase and lowercase and some additional symbols. So now let's dig into 2D barcodes. These barcodes can be encoded in matrix format, like those here below, or some 2D barcodes are actually just stacked linear barcodes that it's like taking a bunch of standard linear barcodes and stacking one on top of another and then shrinking them down into a box. There's a number of other 2D barcodes with more emerging all the time. Here are some of the most common ones that we support. QR and data matrix are two of the most popular 2D barcodes in the United States. They both require a camera-based imaging scanners, and they're most commonly used for direct marketing, but they can be used for other purposes. We also support MaxiCode, which is a standard used for UPS shipping. I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into QR and data matrix codes before we hop on the demo. And I just want to talk a little about those because our most recent version of Formtastic, or our latest version of Formtastic Design Editor, is going to support QR and data matrix directly within the design editor. Right now we support it, but you need to just turn it on from the IBM I side. So a little bit more about QR codes. It's become a very popular format for sharing web page links, particularly for smartphones. There's a ton of QR scanners available on the Android and iPhone marketplaces right now. QR codes can range in size, typically from 25 row and columns, also known as modules, all the way up to 177 modules. 25 is pretty typical for a web URL. It holds about 25 characters. Here we've got our Formtastic product page encoded in a QR link, which is 29 modules, which is 29 dots this way by 29 dots that way. Now you can get bigger and include more information in QR codes. Here you see we've got a 57 by 57. That can hold up to 395 characters. And the largest QR code consists of 177 modules. Those can contain upward of 4,000 alphanumeric characters. Now for those English nerds out there, that rounds out to about 800 words. I mean, could you imagine? Your kids could literally submit their English essays in barcode format via a QR code. So here's a quick look at some of the components of QR codes and data matrix. The QR code is pretty interesting because it contains a large number of specific regions, and a large portion of this is actually dedicated to the pattern finding. So here you've got these big red boxes which characterize the QR code. That's the pattern finder. It allows the imaging based software to locate and orient the image. Now over here on the data matrix, what you have are just solid lines on one side and then dots on the other side, on adjacent sides. Now another interesting thing about both QR codes and data matrix is that they support something that's called error correction. And what you can do, what that means is basically if part of the image is lost, then it won't hinder the ability for your image scanner to correctly scan the barcode, the QR code, or data matrix. Data matrix has an error correction set to 30%, which means that up to 30% of the image can actually be lost or destroyed without affecting the viability of the barcode itself. Some marketers take advantage of this by actually inserting images in the middle or somewhere on the barcode to help improve brand and make it look nicer. And even by doing that, it doesn't disrupt or invalidate the ability for this to be scanned and read by readers. QR codes, as opposed to data matrix, they support a variable. Well, actually, they just support 4 separate standards: 7%, 15%, 25%, and 30% error correction. And with the smaller with the smaller error correction dedicated, with the smaller error correction mode, the 7%, you can actually shrink your the actual size of the barcode. You can condense data in there a little bit better, but you run higher risk of errors in read. Okay, so what time we got? We are at 12:24 by my watch. I'm going to go ahead and hop onto a real quick demo to show you how to create and manipulate a label in Formtastic. So let me close out of this. Move this over here. So what I have here is Formtastic's design editor, and this is our labels module. Let me tile this horizontally. So what I have here is just a label template, and I've got some of the fields pulled out of this data file that we've linked to. In this case, it's a bank account data file. Let's say a sample file that we include in our Formtastic distribution. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete this out and recreate it. Before I do that, I just want to show you what it's going to end up looking like. So I want to make a barcode that looks like this. I'm going to have the barcode, the bank account name, along with the name again and the address information. Here I want to have the bank account ID and the bank account number encoded in a barcode 3 of 9. So let's do that. Kill this off real quick. So what I need here is the bank account ID. I want that over here. Let's make that a different font. Let's make that bold. And then I need the bank account name and address. So let me look for the bank account name. There we go, bank account name. Then let me get the address information. I'll have address 1 through 3 should be enough. That should include all my address information. I'll stick that right underneath. I want all of these lined up. So let me select all fields. I'll bring them over. Well, I'll click this button here, the align left. It lines them all to the left. But they're offset. Let me align them a little better. There we go. I don't think that's enough spacing, though. I'll give a little more spacing. I'll move that up. Select all. This button here, it spaces evenly. And then I'll realign to the left. Okay, so I've got this now. I'm going to move this over here. What I want now is my bank account and bank account text up here in a barcode form. So first let me get the bank account text. Tell you what, I'll sort it this way. Oh, there it is hiding. Bank account text. Whoops. That's the wrong button. Let me Control Z out of that. Looks like I accidentally copied and dumped all of the fields in the entire data field in there, but you could see it was easy to undo by hitting Control Z to undo a number of times. So I've got my bank account text in here now. I want to change the font. Let me change the font on that to, oh, let's do something bold and big. Let's try Times New Roman, 12-point bold. Yeah, that's good. I wanted italic. Let's do, yeah, that's better. Okay, now let's add the bank account number as a barcode. And notice when I clicked and drag it, it dumped it in as text. Now, instead of when you want to bring a barcode in with the labels module, that was the wrong way of doing it. So I'm going to delete that out, and I'm going to click barcode here and select there. Now I can either enter any alphanumeric character that I want, or I can link to the data file. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull out of the data file, and I'm going to select BACCT, which is the bank account number, hit OK, and I want that to come in as a 3 of 9. Notice here, we have a ton of different barcode standards. 128, ABC, 3 of 9, a bunch of permutations of 3 of 9, EANs, 2 of 5s, postnets, UPCs, tons of UPCs, and a couple others that we didn't talk about, MSI. So let me go ahead and link that in. I'm going to take this off because I don't want the check digit. Oops. Let's try that again. Link to data file, bank account, and 3 of 9. There we go. So now I've got my barcode here. I'm going to reposition it. And I'd like all of this to line up to the left of it. Maybe move it over just a hair. So I select them all, and then I hit the right arrow key to move and adjust. Now we're going to move this guy over. Move him up about halfway. That's good. And I want a little box around that. So let's get a box. Stick it around that. Okay, looks good. I'd like to round that out some, so let me round that barcode. Let me round the box out. I'll right-click it and go to Attributes. Modify the attributes to rounded corners, all corners. Yeah, that's looking good. Okay. I think I'll move these down a little bit more. Squeeze those together. Done. Okay, so this is our template. Now when we run a merge, all of the data from this data file will run through this template and dump out the final file and send it to a printer. So in this example here, all of the first 4 rows at least include the same data: First American National Bank, yada yada yada. But in most cases, the data is actually going to be different, and so each label is going to include some different information. So anyway, that about wraps up my part of the presentation, and it looks like we may run over just a few minutes, folks. So I'm going to go ahead and get us onto the Q&A session. I've got Deb Walsh and Ken Glansberg waiting in the wings to answer your technical questions. In the meantime, you can also learn more at quadrantsoftware.com/product/Formtastic, or you can watch our recent webinars on quadrantsoftware.com/webinars. Now, Ken and Deb, are you on the line with me?
I'm here.
Standing by.
Hello?
I'm here.
Yep.
Oh, hey. Maybe I think my headphones are turned down. Let me turn up some.
No, Ken, you do sound like you are in the distance, so I don't know if you're on a speakerphone or not. I don't know if I'm the same, but...
No, let me try that again. I'm on headset. Any better?
Much better.
A lot better. Much better.
Thank you. Okay, folks. So now is our Q&A session. So if you have any questions, go ahead and submit your questions via the GoToWebinar client, and we'll go ahead and answer them now on a first-come, first-served basis. So don't be shy. Go ahead and submit, and I've got a couple questions now I'm going to pose to you guys. Ken, I'll send this first question to you. The question is, can you add serial numbers to labels?
Absolutely. If you wouldn't mind, John, would you bring up the label that you were designing?
Absolutely.